Hi everybody, I'm here in Asheville, North Carolina with Johnny Brooke of Crafted Workshop.
What's going on, everybody?
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you for coming. I'm super excited to, well, we've already done the turning, but I would have been very excited.
You guys are going to have a chance to see Johnny turn a bowl for the first time with traditional gouges.
Yes.
And he's also going to try and turn a bowl and not throw it off a lathe for the first time. So this is going to be fun. We're also going to learn a little bit about Johnny and take a tour around his workshop. Let's get started.
Let's do it. So I run Crafted Workshop, which is a website and YouTube channel where I put out pretty much weekly woodworking projects, but also started covering some like home improvement stuff. I do some metalworking, just kind of general making stuff. So I've been at it, I guess, full time for just about 3 years with the YouTube channel, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, I love it.
This is Johnny's brand spanking new shop. Everything is nice and clean, except for the lathe area now.
No, it doesn't usually look this good in my shop, but yeah, I spent the last, I guess, like 2.5 months building out this space. When I kind of took it over, it was totally empty, and so it's kind of cool because I could build it to my, well, not really build the outside, but like, you know, do the inside to kind of what I needed, and it was cool to be able to customize the space. There was definitely a lot of pre-planning and a lot of time, like, oh, where's all these tools gonna go? Because, you know, we had to do like outlet placement and all that stuff, but it's really cool.
Can we do a little walk around?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So front area here, the lathe usually is kind of tucked away over here, but we pulled it out for ease of filming and working. But then over here, I've got my lumber rack, which is pretty empty right now.
Yeah, you gotta work on that.
I thinned out quite a bit of, you know, like we hang on to stuff that, you know, we're not gonna use ever, but I burnt a lot of wood before I moved because I just like, I don't need to move these little scraps. So, but yeah, that's nice. Got my table saw over here, which has become our de facto workstation since it's right by the lathe. But love my table saw. I got this new outfeed table that I just built and did a video on, which I'm super happy with. It turned out nice, did all the dog holes and everything. And then I've got kind of my milling area here. I've got my jointer and planer and drum sander. I really like to have my kind of shop with this kind of workflow where, you know, you bring material in, you're doing the rough breakdown on table saw or miter saw, and then kind of milling everything to size. I work with a lot of rough lumber, so spend a lot of time in this area. Then continue on, got bandsaw and drill press and kind of workbench assembly table area. And again, everything kind of comes out of the planer and drum sander, ends up here, which is where I'm going to be doing a lot of like cutting of joinery and final assembly and things like that, sanding. And then continuing down, I've got my router table and spindle sander. Those are kind of nice to have in this area too, because usually I'll be using those towards the end of a project, you know, using the router table for joinery or edge profiles. But then it's also right next to my Inventable's X-Carve CNC, and I use these two tools with the CNC a ton because usually when you're working on CNC, you have tabs that you have to deal with. So flush trim bit on the router table and sanding it on the spindle sander. I got another dust collector back here, and then I've got my kind of metalworking area, which is always the last thing to get set up and organized. As you can see, I had like another little storage cabinet thing that ended up getting sold. So that's what all that crap on the floor is. But yeah, this is kind of my metal area. Went with the fiber cement walls over here, which are, you know, less flammable and good for grinding at. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
How long do you think it's gonna be before you need a bigger shop?
Yeah, I mean, I could already use a bigger shop, but we were just saying that like having this space, I think keeps me reined in a little bit. I tend to like want to have every possible tool, and
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's like I like tools and they're fun to play with, but then a lot of them end up sitting there and collecting dust, and you know, it's just kind of wasteful. So this kind of keeps me from going overboard, I think. You know, keeps me a little bit in check. So I'm pretty satisfied with this space.
Before we get into turning this bowl, I'd like to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Trade. Trade is the best kept secret for coffee drinkers. Coffee is an important part of my daily routine, a morning ritual during that quiet time before phone calls, emails, or wood turning, when I gather my thoughts for the day. I took the coffee quiz and they recommended the very best ethically sourced coffee for me based on my own personal taste and my favorite method of brewing. Trade partners with 50 coffee roasters around the country and the coffee is roasted to order. They're giving the first 100 people 30% off. Just click the link below and use my offer code. I matched with the John Brown coffee from PT's Coffee, a medium dark blend with notes of chocolate and black cherry. And I love the rich flavor I get with this coffee in my French press. Just click the link below and use my offer code to get 30% off your first coffee. And now back to bowl turning. The first order of importance is to set up this bench grinder so that Johnny will have a place to sharpen his wood turning tools. Traditional turning tools need to be sharpened several times during the course of turning a bowl. We're using a platform system that's a big upgrade from the small platforms that come with a grinder, but it requires us to mount everything to a board. Johnny is drilling the holes with countersinks so that we can mount the grinder to the board. Next, we're going to attach the CBN wheel that we're going to be using so that we can see where the platform system needs to be mounted. CBN, or cubic boron nitride wheels, are far superior to the stone wheels that normally come with a grinder for sharpening the high-speed steels used in turning. We figured out that we need a little notch cut out of the wooden base to accommodate the height adjustment system of the platform. Running smooth. Now, since Johnny happens to have a metalworking station close by, we're going to make a small adjustment to the platform so that it can fit snugly up close to the wheel. So I just loosened up this little bolt right here, and I want to set the platform so that the edge of it is going to be at the height of the center of the wheel. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that back down now. The cool thing about this platform is that you can adjust the angle without running.
Nice, yeah.
Not true of all the other designs. We're going to need your new angle gauge.
Sweet new SP Tools angle gauge available at ashleyharwood.com or whatever your website is. Is that right? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Okay.
Flat on the platform. And then that little section marked 40 should be flush up against the wheel. So it's not both sides that are touching, it's just the bottom.
Get some of this in the guild cut.
So Johnny, this is your new 1/2 inch diameter 40/40 bowl gouge.
All right, man. This is literally the first time I've ever held a traditional turning tool. So this is very new to me.
I have to say, it's so much fun to be able to see that look on a person's face the first time they see how easily traditional turning tools can cut and shape the wood. There's just something about that feeling of sending ribbons flying and quickly seeing a shape come to life. First, we're flattening the surface that will become the top of the bowl. And then we're creating a recess that the jaws of our chuck will expand into to hold the bowl on the lathe. It happens every time.
Like that?
Yeah, yeah. Once the wood is on the chuck, we can start to round the outside. This is where it really starts to change shape. The style of cutting that I use and that Johnny is learning is the push cut style. It's a style that minimizes any negative impact on the body, such as vibration from the tool as it's moving through the wood.
That's crazy. It removes such a monstrous amount of material too. Jeez.
When it's done correctly, this cut requires very little muscle and leaves a smooth finish on the surface of the wood. And it can be incredibly satisfying. Now that we have the wood rounded, it's time to make that pretty bowl shape. And Johnny's going to need to sharpen since we've cut through a few miles of wood so far.
Man, that was like aggressive.
It does take a little practice to get this cut right, but Johnny is a quick study. Now it's time to start on the inside of the bowl and really throw some ribbons. Everything happens from the top down. First the rim, then working down from the rim to the bottom of the inside. To finish off the very bottom of the bowl, we're going to use a jam chuck. This is just another piece of wood that we can cut to the exact size of the opening of the bowl. It has to be a tight fit because it's just the friction between these two pieces of wood that's going to hold the bowl onto the lathe. We can also use the jam chuck to make one more cut around the outside of the bowl and get it just a little bit thinner since it's supported from the inside.
Told you we'd do it.
You guys see him pull it up?
Glad I held on to that. Hell yeah! All right, man.
Nice job. You're supposed to look at the camera now and you're supposed to say ta-da.
Ta-da! My first bowl. Sweet.
Wait, so it's not your first bowl, it's just your,
No,
your
my
first
first
bowl
traditionally turned bowl.
and your first bowl that didn't fly off.
Correct, yes. I was 3 of 3 before this, so. Yep.
Nice job. Now let's check out a little bit of Asheville. So Johnny, can you tell us a little bit about where we're at?
Yes, this is one of my favorite spots here in Asheville. This is Asheville Hardware, right in kind of one of my favorite areas of Asheville, the South Slope. I buy pretty much all of my live edge slabs here, They have definitely the best selection in town of live edge slabs and really cool, interesting lumber, a lot of exotic stuff, and they also sell all kinds of tools and things like that.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your business.
Sure.
Maybe how you got started and when you decided to go full-time.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. So before it was Crafted Workshop, it was Crafted Magazine, and so I kind of did like bi-monthly issues, covered people who made cool handmade stuff, everything from like musical instruments to coffee to beer to clothing. I was like, well, maybe I'll do like a woodworking project for that. It kind of fits in, and it could be kind of a DIY thing. I had started watching a lot of YouTube stuff, so figured, why not try it? So put out a couple videos. They did way better than any of the other stuff I was doing with Crafted Magazine, so quickly decided to rebrand and just kind of go all in on woodworking. And so I think that was kind of part of the thought process is, all right, let me, show how I'm doing this as I'm learning it. And I think kind of covering a lot of those mistakes along the way and seeing my shop grow. I mean, like in my first video on the channel, I'm on the floor with a miter saw and there's no other tools, that and a drill. So it's come a long way in the past, I guess, like 3 years. And when I went full time, that was actually my wife. She just kind of woke me up one day. It was like really early in kind of the channel. She just had faith in me.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, obviously it worked out really well, and I'm super glad she helped me make that decision.
Who are some of the people that inspire you? Who are some of the people that you look up to in this space?
Yeah, I think Mark probably comes to mind as one of the first, because he's
Mark Spagnuolo?
Yeah, from the Wood Whisperer. He really, if you go on YouTube and you look at woodworking, you can't miss him. But yeah, Mark, Bob from I Like to Make Stuff was definitely a huge early kind of inspiration. Jay Bates was a big one. I built a lot of the stuff that he had built, especially shop stuff. April Wilkerson is a total badass. She's just a freaking juggernaut. So it's been really cool to see her just blow up. So those are a handful, but there's just dozens and dozens. Jimmy DiResta, of course, he's like the OG. There's just tons. It's a really cool community. It's pretty cool because again, like 3 years ago, I didn't know any of these people. I didn't know you. I didn't know any of the people in this community. So I'm lucky enough to call a lot of these people really good friends.
All right, you probably heard this before, but
that sounds like my son. I'm pretty sure that sounds like little baby clomping steps.
So if you could go back and give yourself 3 years ago one piece of advice, what would it be?
Man, that's tough. I don't know. I feel like when I quit and decided to do this full time, I made sure like part of that was talking to other people who had already been doing this, So like I had a call with Bob from I Like to Make Stuff and David from Make Something and like Matt Cremona, and kind of picked their brains. And I think even though I wouldn't tell myself to do that because I did it, but like if somebody was starting, I would really recommend that because it's doing this, there's so many little idiosyncrasies as part of it, like all the little revenue streams, and there's just so much to kind of wrap your head around. There's no handbook for it, so that was super important to me. I think that was one of the more valuable things, so I would tell myself to still do that for sure.
Seeking out the people that have that experience,
I think other than that, probably like don't be afraid to invest in the business, I think I've always been a little bit of like a penny pincher when it comes to like buying stuff, and that's never been a problem. I still have ended up with a really nice shop. It's just maybe taken a minute because I've had to like, really kind of wheel and deal to get to that point. But not being afraid to, try new things and experiment a little bit more maybe. I think that's important, and figuring out what I really like. But overall I've been really happy with how things have gone. So I feel pretty lucky about that.
Well, I would just like to say a big thank you to Johnny for having me here in Asheville.
Thank you for coming out. I think I have all the thank yous to say to you because I learned so much today. It was really, really fun. So,
well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
If y'all haven't heard of Johnny, you should check out his channel at Crafted Workshop on YouTube.
Yep.
He's also Crafted Workshop on Instagram.
And everywhere, basically. Facebook,
Crafted
Twitter,
Workshop
if it exists, I've got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in any of the tools that we're using, you can find those on my website at ashleyharwood.com. And of course, there's going to be links to everything below the video. So till next time, see y'all later.
See ya.
And I'd like to give a big thank you to all of my Patreon members. Thank you so much for helping to support what I do and for being a part of the team. I'd like to give a special shout out to my top tier patrons, Evan Hoffman, Danny Toner, and Jim Tate. Thank you so much. Your support is greatly appreciated.